It's 6 o'clock, time to call the meeting to order, and we do have a quorum. Thank you, everyone. And I believe we have one person desiring to address the board. Mr. Hedrick.
Good evening, thank you. Just want to say thank you for the construction of the new ball fields out there. It is awesome. So thank you to the board, the administration. I can't thank you enough. All the wind we had last few days and the rain. I'm not lying about it. I think you got it right when the opposing people come in and they're like, wow. That's just why. And the other comments are, can you call my president? Call my I think you got it right. So all the puns, get it out of the park.
Oh, how funny.
Hit a home run. Oh, good job. I appreciate it very much. Thank y'all very so much. Thank you.
Could I ask a ball player, do we have any softball, baseball players here?
Not tonight.
No, playing or something, but Van, you know, you've done a great job here at the college for many, many, many years. And it's your reputation and your hard work that caused, that this board got behind and supported. So for you and your team, thank you very much for all your work.
Now we'll move to the Chancellor's report.
Do my very best to keep this brief. There's a lot going on in the state, as you're aware. There are several House and Senate bills that will affect the governing boards at community colleges. Those will come to you as I think that they are advancing. I don't want to give you the full list today. But this last week, TAC leadership continued to amplify a singular voice for Texas community colleges. I'm proud also to say that Lone Star College has rejoined the Texas Association of Community Colleges. So we now have 49 voices. The only out that is still not a member is Collin College. We've established a lot of rapport with the legislators, and House Bill 8's cleanup bill, which is HB 2110, is going in and has been heard by the House Higher Education Committee under Representative Van Deaver, who was the author of HB 8. The major pieces that are changing of that bill are twofold. Number one, it would include I-cut institutions in our transfer outcome, which means private colleges and universities in Texas. So that's your Baylors, your SMU, your TCUs. So right now, if we transfer a student to a private college, we get no outcome funding for that. This now would include outcome funds for transferring to those member institutions. The other piece is the reanalysis and reevaluation of portions of the credential of value conversation, which will focus around associate degrees that do not lead to what is considered a sustainable or living wage. That is going to be finalized in the next few months. There are 16 associate degrees currently on that list. All that means is we won't receive funding for the associate degree until they meet that metrics. It does not mean we won't receive transfer certificate programs if they have them. We'll still get those success points or those outcomes. Yes, ma'am.
Do we lose that student in our system if they go ahead and get a degree, say biology?
Absolutely not. And so they can still earn the degree, which we would encourage them to do because we believe there is value in every associate degree we teach. It's just that we will get credit for their transfer to the university. We'll get credit for if they were a dual credit student before they came. It's just until it hits the ability to earn back half your tuition you've been put in and earn $30,000 per person, until it reaches that metrics, we don't get the outcome for the full associate's degree. I'll tell you two areas that are on the borderline. It takes 6 years to earn back rather than 5, and the metrics is 5 as they're presenting. Ag and biology are the two that are right on the cusp. And so what I've said to other CEOs and others in the state, is we don't need to be looking at closing programs when we're so close, and they ebb and flow each year. So a program come back on, other programs could come off. And so it's just part of that metrics. And we're in a better place by doing that than we would be if we were trying to tackle all the OSA, COVs at once, because there's a lot of those. So
Biology and agriculture are on that line because those students typically designated a more specified program of study.
So let me go into what NCTC is. One of the benefits at North Central Texas College is we do not have specialized academic transfer degrees. So for example, we don't have an AS in biology. We have an AS in which you could choose a pathway in biology to go to University of North Texas, to wherever you want to go. So we'll be funded for those. It's if we had a declared major in biology that we would not be funded. So that's why the only program right now, the only one that we see that we will have 1 year at least of not funding the associates is a specific program we have in ag, not even all the ag areas. It's a zip code of 0101, which is basically some of the things we've already ended, farm and ranch, which we've already decided was not producing graduates. So right now, we're in a very good place because we never chose to move forward with particular degrees. We have a general AA, a general AS. The only specific degrees and majors we have are in the Associate Applied Sciences, like welding, nursing has an ADN, for example. So we're in a better place than others would be. So if you choose an ag degree, or if you choose a biology transfer pathway, and you do an AS at NCTC with a biology pathway, we will still get the associate degree funding for that degree.
What is the population of students who fall in the category of us not being funded?
Very few. Only the associate degree in agriculture students that graduate would be the amount that we would not receive that associate funding for. So you're probably looking at 16 to 20 students out of the 8,000.
Thank you.
Good questions. Yeah, it's a moving target we keep working on. So long story short, that was presented and well received by the higher ed committee. Susan Fontenot, who is actually the chairman of the vice chair of the board at Lee College, represented the board of regents across the state through CAT and presented support for what we've been able to achieve through House Bill 8, and that was offered to them. So we continue to highlight that. Several other bills that are on our attention. One of those that would affect governing boards is Senate Bill 37. Senate Bill 37 is geared to where it is positioning the board as determining the hiring practices for the college, and that would mean that all deans, directors, vice chancellors, and even associate vice chancellors and every faculty member would be evaluated individually by the board for hiring and or firing and or continuing their employment. That's a lot of work, and it is in violation technically of our accreditation standard, but there is a bill that would eliminate that was heard today that I think will pass that will tell us we no longer have to be associated with the Southern Association of Community Colleges. So SACS will no longer be our only choice. So there's a lot of nuance to that we're going to have to figure out in the next few weeks as momentum gathers. But lots of concerns from board members about Senate Bill 37, and they say, you know, we don't, one board member I know said we don't know how to evaluate some things. That's not our expertise. So as that comes down the pike, we will continue to let you know how that goes. In some interesting news this week, we've been highlighted in two different periodicals. The Texas Tribune called me last week, and we are one of 5 colleges that were interviewed, or more, actually 6, that were interviewed about the impact of House Bill 8. So if you look at the Texas Tribune, you'll see some quotes from me about our main stop and our advising models and our instructional ways we've used our House Bill funding. And then the Denton Record Chronicle also did an article about our concerns, whether we have them, and what we were thinking about the closure or reduction of the Department of Education. So that article was well received as well. And I notified the staff and faculty last week about what that might mean to us, and we're taking that as a day at a time. We're already hearing about a few things that are being closed. You mentioned one to me this evening that's a state closure that will affect a lot of high school students, and so we're just taking a day at a time to determine what that's going to look like as well. On really awesome news, PTK Reach Rewards Program recognizes and rewards Phi Theta Kappa chapters that excel in membership development, and I'm happy to announce that our chapter of the Gainesville campus has been named the 2024 Reach chapter and will receive the Phi Theta Kappa graduation stoles for our chapter advisor. And Jill Swarner's with us tonight, so Jill, if you just wave for the whole group and say congratulations. And our officers, tell us, introduce officers. Kia, I think, is one, aren't you? Yes. Good. So would you join me in congratulating PTK on that award? At the start of the 2025 spring semester, the IHSA team, which is our horse team, was comprised of 12 members. This team has grown by 50% since the beginning of Coach Gilmore's time at the college and starting in August of 22. The team finished their last regular session competition on February 22nd at New Mexico State University, and on February 23rd, the NCTC IHSA team had 3 members. Riley Perkle, Rosemary Hartman, and Katie Williams qualified for postseason regionals, also held at New Mexico State University. At Regents, riders must be first or second place to move into the next position event, semifinals. Rider Riley Perkle secured second place in ranch riding to lock her qualification in for the semifinals, and this year the semifinals was hosted by West Texas A&M University. This event rotates around the country each year. On March 15th, she went against 13 other riders from various states in her ranch riding class. Semifinals are a mere stepping stone for nationals, and riders have to secure 4th place or above to qualify, and Riley drew the horse Pal, owned by West Texas A&M University, and designed a beautiful ride to win her class. And so we're very glad for her. Some of the states that Riley competitors represented were Nebraska, Colorado, I mean a huge number. And she will now travel to Mill Spring, North Carolina on May 3rd to compete for the title. She's not with us tonight, but would you go ahead and give her congratulations? Lots to brag on. Remember, we didn't have a meeting last month. Our Business Management Certificate Capstone course in Business Leadership Application for the past several years has used what they call the Business Strategy Game, which is a competitive-based simulation for a real environment. And so those groups of students are assigned to operate an athletic footwear company that produces and markets both branded and private label footwear and competes head-to-head against footwear companies of similar student populations across their member class. The simulation provides students with a real opportunity to showcase and work as co-managers of a company and understand the real-life experience. One of our teams, once again, made the top 100. Now, there were 3,757 teams from 181 colleges and universities, so our team placed second in the return on average equity. Would you congratulate them? This evening, I'm pleased to announce the appointment of Kelly Swan as Interim Chief Information Officer. Kelly has extensive experience in not only technology development and integration, but specifically with J1 services and implementation. She has 30 years of higher education experience both in Texas and Arkansas and provided a rich knowledge base throughout our transition. Her appointment will continue as we search for our permanent CIO, but would you please welcome Kelly to the administrative team? And that's all I have this evening, Madam Chair. Oh, I'm sorry. I had them at the top of the list, and I left them at the bottom. Thank you. We were very fortunate, and several board members were able to attend with us. Community College Days took place in February, and we've got a large group of students that went with us. I have to say this. They represented us so well, and those of you that were there, I mean, I've never been prouder of a group of students in my entire career. They were professional. They represented us brilliantly. They knew how to tell their own story, and sometimes that's tough when you're sitting in front of a senator or a representative. With us tonight that attended, and if you'll stand, we're really going to embarrass you, Meg Morris, Herschel, I'm just going to use first names, Gustavo, Kia, Jenna, Hazel, and Ramon. And they are a part of about 20 that went. But they did great. Would you please give them a big round of applause? Thank you for letting us recognize Deanne. There were several that attended. I appreciate everything's, that they did. The board that day went well. We had huge reception from the Senate and House about how well it was presented and how important it is to hear from students. So thank you again. Kia also serves as our SGA president. Kia, raise your hand one more time. So she was able to be there and learn a lot about government she may or may not have known before or wanted to know perhaps before. So we appreciate her being there as well. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Dr. Wallace?
Yes.
I think the students did a tremendous job, but I do think there's a lady in here, Ms. Carroll, who sort of guided that ship, and I thank you very much for what you did to represent us and to help the students come and represent us in Austin. Thank you.
Now I think I'm through. Thank you.
We will move to committee reports. The executive committee did meet on March the 25th. However, I do not have those minutes. Ms. Metzler will present those at the next meeting. Finance also met on October the 25th. We discussed the second quarter investment report, which is later on the agenda. We discussed tuition and fees, room and board for 25-26. Those are also later in the agenda. We reviewed the financing for the proposed dorm, which will also be presented in a few minutes. And then lastly, we discussed Dr. Miller's analysis regarding the spending of the 24 Cook County property tax revenues. We reviewed financials from January and February, had updates from Dr. Wallace, and we adjourned. Did building and IT meet?
25th as well. We reviewed several projects. We reviewed the Medal of Honor Museum. Substantial completion is April the 1st, so it's coming up quickly. Reviewed the current cost sheets and discussed how the project was moving. Again, expected to complete and ready for grand opening on April the 10th. We had an update on the farm. The land's being leased under local grass lease. They're paying the college $30 an acre, and we had agreed to split the cost of the repair to the water well out there with the leaser. We also reviewed the tax bonds. We reviewed the cost sheets on the notes. The new turf and lighting at both softball and baseball fields is completed. Final walkthrough with contractors on April the 9th. We also received the bids for the sound and lighting project at the CPA, and a contractor was selected and will start work in April as well. We also discussed the new dorm project. Design documents from the architect are 90% completed, and once the bidding documents are complete, we'll put the project out for bid in late May or early June. And then we discussed some other projects. The new baseball locker room is in progress. The Graham Nursing Simulation Project is in progress. And we also discussed some classroom upgrades that'll go out for bids in Graham in April as well. So good meeting, and we adjourned.
Thank you. Now we will move on to Dr. Miller and the finance report.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman Morris. Tonight we have 2 months of financial statements. January and February are both in your board packet. As always, I invite any questions you may have about anything you have seen in there and want to know more information about. I myself do not have anything in particular regarding a specific change, significant change that may have occurred. Nothing that I feel like really needs to be drawn attention to, but I would remind each of you that February marks the midway point of the fiscal year, but it marks the high point as far as our cash balances go. So most of the revenue comes in the first half of the year, and then as we start moving toward the end of the year, more goes out than comes in. So we always have to build up a nice balance by the end of February in order to make sure we make it through the summer months. And if you look at the cash flow report for February, you'll notice that our February balance is greater than it's been in the last 2 years. So that's a very good sign that we've got plenty of cash ready to meet the needs of the remainder of the fiscal year until we return for the new fiscal year, September 1. I've also included material right behind February, which gives a representative breakdown of the spending of the local property tax dollars. In fact, I think what actually got printed was both last year or for the last 2 years. Actually, I just intended for the most recent year to be there, but that does give a good comparison for the last 2 years. I know there's oftentimes question about how local taxpayers' dollars are spent. And we've always said that the plan is that those dollars will be spent for facilities here on the Gainesville main campus. And I think this breakdown goes to show that that's exactly where those dollars get spent. In fact, it shows a negative balance each year, which means we actually spent more on local facilities each year than we actually collected in local property tax revenue. So there again, if you have any questions or you receive any questions from anyone asking about those tax revenues, just let me know. I'll be happy to provide this report or any other update if it might be helpful. Does anyone have a specific question?
Just as a point of update for the board as well, Dr. Miller and I are working through what next year will look like from the state perspective. This is the first year, really a full implementation of House Bill 8, and we are diligently seeking input from the state on what some of the dollars and cents we're receiving really means. And so we'll have that as part of the budget workshop, actually, when you are looking at next year's budget. But we talked today, we talked to Deputy Commissioner I did about what's that mean. It's going to ebb and flow from year to year. That's the difference when you do an outcomes-based. And so we're in healthy condition, which we really appreciate, and that's what this evidence. And then as we move into the budget cycle with the board, you'll have more on what that looks like from the state dollars coming in. So.
Thank you.
Carol will discuss enrollment.
Good evening. I hope everybody is doing well this evening. Included in your board packet is an enrollment report, but it does include some additional areas that we want to be that I wanted to be sure were covered. It includes our enrollment overview for spring 2025, the graduation report from fall of 24, and timely care utilization report, and then also NCTC CARES impact report. So the report highlights enrollment trends, graduation outcomes, and then impact of some key areas of student support services that we utilize throughout the college. As of spring of 2025, we have an enrollment of 7,535 students across all campuses, and that's a 6.5% increase compared to the spring of 2024. And it's in various modalities of how it's not just on campus, but throughout the document. You'll also see that we have online platforms that are utilized for a total course number of enrollments for all of these 7,000 students is 21,770 enrollments duplicated. Within your packet, you do see the top course enrollments overall for the district as well as by campus. You'll see that 39% of our students are fully online, with 37% participating in hybrid learning. In the demographics of our student body, as our subcommittee of the board that we met this evening found that 57% of our student body are female, with 26% being Hispanic or Latino. 30% or 32% of our population are Pell recipients, with 66% of our students attending part-time, with the average age of 23.2%. The next area or section of your packet, the enrollment is broken down by each campus, and you'll see that we have all of our main campuses, but we did not include our training center as a section in your packet at Champion Circle. But we do plan on highlighting that area in a future enrollment report and starting in future reports to actually include continuing education enrollments, because they're now included in our outcomes. And you'll see in the graduation section of this report, this now does include both credit and non-credit students. During the fall of 24 semester, we awarded 458 degrees and credentials, and that totals 407 graduates. So it was important that for us to really highlight some demographics of our graduates within that packet. 63% are female, and then 45% of our graduates are Pell recipients with an average GPA of 3.24. So that really represents some strong academic performance across all of our credentials. And I just want to, for that particular area, you're going to see some different credentials highlighted than what we've done in the past, and that is primarily due to House Bill 8, and that's our additional occupational skills awards, and then those institutional certificates, licensure credentials, the ICLCs on those. It's a small number, but it is an important number because those are licensures that maybe weren't captured in the past that we reported as credentials of value for the college. The next area that I did provide in the report is the timely care utilization. And that is our, as you know, to support student well-being, NCTC continues to partner with Timely Care, offering 24-hour telehealth services. And we're excited to report that in between September of 24 to February of 25, we had I don't know if we're excited, but we're glad that students are utilizing the services. Let me preface that. We're not excited that they had to utilize them. However, we are glad that we had them available for 141 students registered for the service. There were a total of 681 visits that were recorded, with 144 visits for medical now, 129 visits for psychiatry, and then 117 visits for Talk Now, providing on-demand counseling. And really an important area of that data is that 46 visits occurred after business hours, really underscoring the value of this accessible service for our students. Right now, we currently have 2 licensed in our counseling and wellness area, Miss Courtney Hymes, who's here, and COSI. We have 2 licensed counselors that they're dedicated strictly for our counseling area. So, special thank you. I kind of like to echo what Coach Hedrick said. Thank you for allowing us to invest in this particular program for our students' well-being. These numbers, I think, really reflect that on how we are able to actually physically support them through the program. And then the final area that's included within your packet is the NCTC CARES Impact Report. And this represents in between August 1st, 2024 and February 28th, 2025, the number of CARES, the NCTC CARES team addressed 247 reports. And these reports included 142 reports related to mental health and safety needs, 69 reports related to resource and referral requests, 30 non-academic and misconduct issues, and 4 residence life conduct issues. And it was important for me to highlight this information in our team because it demonstrates the team's ongoing, across the district, because this is a team, a CARES team, of ongoing responsiveness and commitment to keeping our students safe and supporting what they need to be able to be successful in their educational journey. Again, this is Melinda's opinion, the Division of Student Affairs continues to remain focused on ensuring student success, along with collaboration, cross-divisional collaboration throughout the college district, from instruction to administrative affairs. Every area of the college is really supported, and we appreciate, speaking on behalf of student affairs, just really appreciate that. And I think this data shows how we collectively help serve our students. I've just covered a lot of information, but do you have any questions?
Do you feel like 2024-25, I mean, is there, like, are there more CARES reports in the last year than the previous year?
They have been significant. I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody in that CARES team, but I know they've been significantly increasing, and the utilization of the CARES reports has really been intentional. Dr. Bunyard was integral, along with Dr. Del Rio, in working with instruction and collectively across the district to make sure people understand the utilization and why to enter a CARES report, so that way we can best serve students. But there is an increasing number, and as we're going through the budget specifically for our counseling and wellness area, we're looking at possibly trying to create or hire a part-time, maybe even through an internship, additional counselor and also social worker. But we are seeing an increased number of CARES reports. Okay, thank you so much.
Dr. King will talk about open education resource.
Thank you. Vice Chairperson Morris and Board of Regents, thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss the status of our OER initiative. You may remember that last May you provided funding from board reserves to advance our OER material development. Tonight we have two of our instructors who are leading that work, Tamar Bell and Jared Ince, and they're going to provide an update on the beneficial work that's happened this last year. And I think we have a PowerPoint that they're going to talk off of.
Thank you so much. We are just so excited to come back and report what we've done in the last year with open education resources at NCTC. For those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to introduce myself to, I'm Tamar Bell. I'm speech faculty, and my colleague is Jared Inch, who is English faculty. So first and foremost, we wanted to just thank you for your support. Thank you for investing $50,000 of the board reserve funds into open education resources, giving our students opportunity to take courses that have zero textbook costs associated, that retains really high quality in the course material. So we wanted to give you a brief update of kind of what happened since we've come before you last May. So last May, the $50,000 that we had to do a summer project with to develop and implement free textbooks in courses, we were able to take that and have 11 courses that were OER supported over the course of the summer 2024 semester. So just from that investment, from one semester alone, fall 2024, we were able to save our students $163,987. That is from one semester, a 227% return on your investment. And that number will keep growing every semester, that the students don't have to pay for textbook costs. So not only that it was a data positive thing, our students are giving us rave reviews about not having to pay for a textbook. So they are noticing the difference in their quality of learning from the first day in class, and we're grateful as faculty. So one student from fall 2024 semester said, the online text helped me because, as I said in class, I would have struggled to get a textbook, right? And we've all been that student who may have struggled to get a textbook and pay for those high textbook costs, right? Another student said, I really appreciated that we didn't buy a textbook. It always takes some stress away from beginning a new course. And our students have a lot of stress. I was meeting one-on-one with my students just this morning in both of my courses, and they were just sharing with me all the hats they wear. So I'm really glad to go before them and say, in my class, in Jared's class, in many of these courses, they don't have to worry or stress about paying for a textbook. So that's really exciting as faculty member. But I wanted to briefly share that in January, we were able to have an in-service with our faculty. And we had the great pleasure of having and supporting and inviting and hosting Dr. Natalie Allen from Rice University, who oversees OpenStax. OpenStax was kind of like a pioneer in this open education resource work. So in the next slide, you'll see a picture, a nice selfie faculty of Dr. Allen and Jared and I having so much fun talking about free textbooks, too much fun. And then of course, at both Gainesville and Denton campus, our faculty shared alike. And you know, the temperature in the room was that faculty are really excited about this work. And the more time has gone on, the higher these quality of free textbooks have become and continue to become. We see this momentum grow both in faculty and administration and students, and it's just, you know, one conversation at a time, just, you know, supporting and enabling faculty to implement these textbooks that are no cost to the student in their classes. So the next positive thing to report from this is even from this conversation, Dean New is here from Health Sciences. We were able to invite Dr. Natalie Allen back, who's coming back to talk about free textbooks that the THECB has provided and developed through OpenStax that are for our nursing faculty. So she's coming back on May 9th to present a fun time to show all of our nursing faculty how these OpenStax books work. So we're excited about her return. So not only is it exciting, but we know that we may or may not have had some challenges with bookstore applications and usernames and password. I'm not saying anything specific, but our students and faculty and staff, and I would even say possibly even administration, are really excited when we have an OpenStax or Open Education Resource textbook in any of our courses, because there's a Creative Commons license. That means it's like a special license. There's no restrictions that need to be made. That means when the student starts the class, they log in on Canvas, and with one click, they have access to the textbook. No username, no password, no middle thing, no barrier. So students are happy. We had one final student testimonial that was just so excited about this. The student says, "I love the fact that all the sources were online, and I didn't even have to open a specific app to read it," right? Just like one click right there. So very exciting. I also wanted to share just a little bit about the college-wide work we're doing. So we shared a little bit about kind of how this investment that you gave us in last May has helped, but just all of the OER work that we've been doing. So this also includes the THECB grants we've received to do OER work. And currently, we have 23 total courses at NCTC that are OER supported and that are zero textbook cost to the student. I know I've said that a lot, but I'm just really excited about it. But that means, right, the student can come to NCTC and complete their core curriculum, and 61% of their classes don't have any textbook costs. So our goal is to get to 100%, right, one course at a time, and that students would have the option in a quality and high quality manner to take that class. And these are 8 out of the 13 core courses that are OER supported, and that's all of the courses in the entire department, not one section. So when this work happens, it is through each division chair. It's through their lens and making sure the quality is there. They're, you know, talking to their staff and faculty about it and making sure that everyone feels comfortable with this decision before we move to it. So there's a great consensus. So I'd like a figurative drum roll to say that in the entire school, we have now saved $1.7 million in student savings. So all of our OER work has supported and saved our students $1.7 million. And I'm happy to report that when we came last May, that number was $780,000. Okay, that's almost $1 million in increase. So, and this work could not happen without all of your support, which we are grateful for, without the support of our administration, our leadership, our faculty, and our students who give us great feedback of what works, what doesn't work. So I'd like to thank all of you and Dr. King, and I'm going to pass it over to my coworker, Jared, who has some information on how we'd like to continue this work. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much again for letting us speak with you guys today. Based on administration, based on chair, and based on faculty interest, and with the Board of Regents' approval and funding, We have set the goal this summer to create approximately 14 new OER-based course templates across a range of divisions. We would like to work, building up to the summer project, we would like to work with chairs to identify specific courses, specific faculty designers, and also suitable OER for those courses. And during the summer, we would like to guide faculty in this OER-based course development. Again, the goal is to create templates for the entire division to use across multiple divisions, and to save students money and deliver high-quality education materials to them, high-quality curriculum. This project would occur in 2 phases. Phase 1 is during the summer, from the summer 3 term from June 9th to August 14th. And that we would finalize our decisions about OER for each course. We would work with Tamara and I would work with the faculty members to design those courses. And e-learning would also be working with the faculty members to create home pages for those courses. Again, these are templates be used by the entire division, so we want to make sure that the courses function really well. They have a good face on in Canvas on them, and that the courses are very, very usable by both students and the faculty that are teaching them. During phase 2, which would occur during the fall 2025 semester, this would be for piloting, revision, and review. So this would be an internal pilot with the faculty designer and with at least one other member of the division. The faculty designer and that piloter would work together to review the course and implement any revisions to make sure that it's ready to be distributed to the whole division. And then during the spring 2026 semester, that's when those courses would go out to the entire division to be used. We estimate that the cost of the whole project would be about $48,000. And this would be for approximately 14 courses. That would include stipends for the course design itself, for the e-learning, graphic design and homepage design, and the e-learnings review. That would also include the internal piloting and review, and as well as project management. So that's what we're envisioning, and we wanted to present that to you guys today, and also thank you again for letting us speak with you all. It's always a privilege to come and talk to you about OER. I think it's one of the best things we can be doing for our students. So Tamara and I are happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Otherwise, thank you very much.
As a parent, I thank you that everybody has the same material. I personally would encourage you to come back and ask when you're ready to fund the project. We'd be happy to hear your proposal. And students, thank you for staying, but you are excused if you have something else you need to do. I'm sure you'd rather be studying.
Meg wants to watch Mom chair this meeting.
Yeah, well, she's staying on a ride.
Oh, okay. She's got an option.
Yes. I'm going to move to the dorm finance presentation.
I'd like to take just a moment before inviting Mr. Paul Jason from Specialized Public Finance to come up here and go over this proposal. A couple of things I want to make sure you understand. There is no vote tonight regarding this financing package. This is solely informational. We've been doing a lot of work preparing for this dorm project. Financing is 3-4 month process, and it's important we get started early and get the information in front of you. Specific voting on actions regarding the dorm will be coming later, but we wanted to get this in front of you so you have an idea of what we are expecting from this particular financing proposal. And then the second thing I just wanted you to know, I did pass out a copy of this presentation before the meeting. It should be identical to what was already in your material, except for a couple of dates on the very last page. So I don't want you to worry flipping through the material everything should be identical except a few dates on the last page. So I'll ask Mr. Jason if he will please come forward.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. Good evening, members of the board, Chancellor Wallace and administration. Thanks for having us tonight. Paul Jason with Specialized Public Finance. Like Dr. Miller mentioned, I think most of y'all have seen this presentation in various committees. The only change is the board meeting date, May 12th from May 19th, which I believe is an item on the agenda tonight. So what we looked at is just the financing component of the new dorm. We're considering issuing combined fee revenue bonds to fund this project. The reason why they're called combined fee revenue bonds is because you can only legally pledge 25% of your tuition and then 100% of your general fees. And so the only other revenue bonds you have outstanding was for the acquisition of the Flower Mound campus. And if you recall, that was something that Dr. Miller was instrumental in as far as moving forward with that, because it did save the college almost $1 million in debt service. So it was a pretty significant save. So that's the only revenue bonds you have outstanding at this point, other than what we're contemplating with this issue to finance the dorm. So we're looking at a 25-year term. That would be a fixed rate issue. The rate right now we're using is 4.75%. That has roughly about 25 basis points of cushion. It's a 25-year term that should be callable anywhere between 8 and 10 years. We try to shorten that as much as possible. The market typically wants a 10-year call protection, meaning you can't refinance or prepay for 10 years. We think we can probably shorten that a year or two without costing the college any money. A couple of key metrics that we look at when we look at capacity and affordability is FY24 revenues. So we look at your pledge revenues and the coverage that provides based off the debt service that we're looking at, not only your existing debt but proposed debt, and that number is at 7 times. We typically like to see at least 5 times, so you're well above that metric. Another key benchmark is looking at your gross tuition fees and revenues, your total pledge revenues as a percentage of the max annual debt service. Existing bonds, new bonds, the max debt service is under 2.1 million. So that is 7.8%. We like to see that between 8 and 10%. So you're definitely in that range that a lot of colleges, when they ask us, well, what's our capacity, what's our affordability, that's typically the range that we provide them, and you're well within that range. If this board decides to move forward, we're looking at pricing this bond issue in May and closing in June. I've got a schedule in more detail in the back. We assume a AA- rating. That's a really good rating for the college. The rating was upgraded in August of 23, 1 notch, and then it was affirmed last summer, and Dr. Miller has been through that process many a times of all his ventures with the rating agencies. And so that is a very good rating. We expect that rating to be maintained at the AA category. That what allows us the very favorable rates of less than 5%. Page 2 is just some credit metrics that the rating folks look at. Very diverse tax base. This does not have a tax pledge, but you do use your taxes to pay operations. So they look at your flexibility within your local limit of 20 cents and your current rate, and you have a lot of flexibility. You've got a very low tax rate operationally and for debt service. Very diverse operating revenue and good cash reserves, very good balance sheet. We won't talk about the challenges because I think a lot of these have reversed. I think your enrollment has stabilized, and I believe 24 was a really good year financially. So that leads to the strong credit rating. Page 3 is just a graphical illustration of your existing debt, and what we tried to do is structure this debt to carve out a spot so we don't have a spike in our debt service and then it declines. So we tried to keep that debt service fairly level around 2.1 million for the life of this bond issue. You can see the existing debt service related to the Flower Mound campus in the gray there. Page 4 is what we call basically a revenue pro forma. This is what allows us to come up with a capacity number. Would like to point out we're assuming a pretty conservative interest rate. It's got a 0.25% cushion in there. And also, we assume no increase in revenue. You know, we hope that's not going to be the picture. So this is all predicated on your current revenues from FY24, and then it factors existing debt, new debt, and then the coverage that I mentioned, as well as the percentage of your debt service to total revenues. So you can see the debt stays pretty level, your existing debt, and then we start paying off a lot of principal after your existing debt pays off in 2032. Page 5 is the sources and uses. We start with what you need or what we're modeling as far as a construction fund deposit of roughly $25 million. And then there's financing costs related to the transaction. You've got fees for attorneys involved, the Attorney General. You'll have a rating fee, our fee, bond counsel. So that's all the financing costs inclusive in this transaction. And the debt service that we illustrated in the previous page includes all those financing costs. Page 6 is just a financing timeline. We're here tonight. As Dr. Miller mentioned, this is just an information item related to the financing component of this. I know there's later discussion next month, and then a action item potentially in May for this board to approve the financing. So we'll use the month of April to get our offering document prepared, meet with the rating agency, S&P, and then we'll put an offering document or a preliminary official statement out on the market for broker-dealers to bid on. If this schedule holds, we'll take bids the morning of May 12th. Work with Dr. Miller on that. He sat in on a number of those bid processes, and then we'll present the final numbers to this board at your board meeting on May 12th for this board to consider the resolution authorizing the bonds. So that is all I had for the update on the financing. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move to the consent agenda. Does anyone have a motion to remove anything, items A through H, from the agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. On to the discussion and action items. Consideration of rescheduling the May 19th, 2025 board meeting.
So as you heard from Paul, that is why you have a 12th on that bond information. What we are facing is the requirement for you to canvass the votes. And that has to be done within a certain period of time between the election occurring and you canvassing. And so we are going to need to move that board meeting as reflected. It would be on the 12th of May rather than the 19th. So it's moving it early. We had talked about the possibilities of a noon meeting only to canvass the votes and still having the 19th, but this gives you the ability just to still have an evening meeting one time, not having to come back a secondary time. Open to any questions you might have about that.
Do you need a motion for that?
I would love a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we schedule the May meeting of the Board of Regents on May the 12th.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And moving on to the consideration of approving tuition and fees for 2025-26.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Every year in March, we like to bring forward tuition and fees because we actually start fall registration in April. So we need to have those fees set before we open fall registration. So we're coming forward tonight with a proposal on tuition and fees. And things got a little murky this year because a couple of months ago, the governor of Texas created some uncertainty in higher ed when he announced his desire for a freeze of tuition and fees for the next 2 years in higher ed. And as always, when our politicians in Austin start talking about higher ed, are they talking about universities? Are they talking about community colleges? Is it both? We never know for certain. So there's been a lot of uncertainty about whether this actually applies to us as a community college or not. But after discussion amongst administration and with the finance committee, we went up on tuition and fees last year. And in fact, in addition to the higher tuition and fee rates, our enrollment has gone up this year. So when I look at the financials, our revenues from tuition and fees are doing very well this year. So regardless what the final decision is on the governor's decree, we have decided it makes the most sense for NCTC to keep tuition where it is for the next year. We won't go up. We went up last year. We won't go up this year, and keep it right where it is. And you will see on the second page, it shows exactly what all those tuition and fee rates are for the current year, and it will stay exactly the same for next year if you so approve of this motion.
I have a question.
Yes.
So the general use fee, 100% of that can be utilized in the repayment of bonds.
It could,
Okay.
yes.
Could.
Yes, absolutely.
And 25% of tuition.
I think that's correct.
That is correct.
I hear your recommendation,
Mm-hmm.
but what are our options?
Regarding,
Do we have the option of raising, with the governor saying
No.
what he says, do we have the option?
Would you like me?
I would very much appreciate Dr.
Yes.
Wallace.
So the answer to that question, Dr. Bellows, is legally, yes, you do. The governor does not have the legal ability to set a community college's tuition and fees. You are in statute, you are in charge of that by law. There is the law, and then there is the spirit of interpretation, in which the governor has asked that no entity go up on tuition and fees. So you run the risk of, although the governor does not have the ability to tell you you can't increase TNF, that if he wants it that way, he can always veto a budget. So if you're asking for the increased outcomes monies of House Bill 8, which ended up that the sector outperformed by not $40 million, but $89 million, plus an additional $114 million required to meet the demand for the next year's outcomes. Most of your Texas Association Community colleges are saying we might better hold off increasing. Now, I will say this. The rider language that was written when the governor did this before was exclusively for universities when it came out in actual language format. If they replicate that language post-session, then it would actually exclude us, and the board could then come back, for example, in December and do a spring increase to tuition and fees if they saw necessary if you saw you wanted to do that. But at this point, it's a matter of trying to be a good partner with state leadership and not signal something we don't necessarily want to signal.
My real rationale in asking this is, going forward, may there be a point where we're locked in? And we have no option
Yeah,
to increase tuition and fees.
to your point, yes, that's always a chance. And to your point, too, what is concerning is there are 23 colleges, for example, this year that will be having to, quote, pay back upfront dollars of HB8's funding because they didn't meet the metrics the coordinating board believed they would. So let's say you get that, okay? Then you tie that with the fact that boards are restricted, if they interpret it this way, not to increase TNF. Then there are several Senate bills that we're just now looking at. Dr. Miller and I are co-chairing, so to speak, a state conversation about ad valorem taxes, and they're talking about bringing us to the same level. They have the ISDs and the communities to say you can't increase to 7.99, you can only increase to 3.5. Then the closure of the Department of Ed for our fourth leg of the stool, where there may be a reduction in federal monies coming to the college. It ends up where all four are tied. Then it is a challenge. It becomes where do you generate that revenue? The fourth being taxes, which even with the 7.99 as this board has been doing the last few years, doesn't generate huge dollars.
I do think by as maintaining the tuition structure this year, the governor asked for colleges and universities to maintain flat tuition fee for 2 years in a row. I think we will know within the next 12 months if in fact community colleges are included or not. So our hope is we were not intended to be lumped in there, and next year if we need an increase, we will be free to do so as we would in any other year.
I will also say this, we are in conversation with the governor's office and the staff to say, what is the real intent? Did you mean universities only? Did you mean community colleges? Because we remind them very carefully that there are certain legal responsibilities of locally elected boards, such as yourselves, and one of those is fiscal responsibility. And if you have your ability to raise or deal with something tied, then you're not able to fulfill why you were elected. So we're trying to gently have those conversations with very supportive staff. We have great representation, great relationships with the senior staff in the governor's office. I've talked to one personally that is someone I know well, and we're still having those conversations to see, is that really what you intended?
So the administration is seeking approval of tuition and fee rates at the same rate as the current fiscal year 2025 level.
And we'll be sure to tell marketing to really just push out. We're not raising.
Well, I do think it's important for the community to know, and our students to know, that we do have an option, and we have chosen to maintain the status quo on tuition and fees, even though there are some looming financial, uncertainties.
Right.
Any more discussion? Ask for a
That
motion.
we continue to have the same rate of tuition and fee cost at NCTC as we did last year.
I need a second.
I second. Got it? I got it.
I'll take
I
Mr.
second.
Henderson. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And lastly, consideration of approving room and board 2025-26.
We always follow tuition and fees with room and board. And so this year, our food services provider, Great Western Dining, recently increased the rates for meal plans, understandable with food costs and such being what they are. So we need to pass this increase along to in the form of higher fees for our students. So what we are asking is for an increase of $100 per semester to the meal plans, so that if you look, we like to quote those rates because of our two different dorm facilities. Bonner has one rate, the other facilities have a slightly higher rate. So you'll see on the second page there, we're going from $24.11 to $25.11 at Bonner. Hayes and the Equine Building, we're going from $25.11 up to $26.11 per semester. Passing that along, and then the next year or two, we'll probably have another classification of dorm facility.
Any discussion? Accept a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the residence hall room and meal rates per Dr. Miller's schedule here.
Thank you, Mr. Ott. A second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a need for executive session?
We do not, but I do have one announcement that just a reminder that April 10th is our Medal of Honor Host City Museum open house and ribbon cutting. That starts promptly at 5 o'clock. We are aware that Secretary of State Nelson will be present, and we're still expecting a good crowd. We'll start at 5 and do ribbon cutting and a couple of comments from her, and then the rest of the evening is designed for come and go. There's going to be some food for folks and some entertainment, but just really to see the museum. So 5 o'clock start time, April 10th.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second that for sure.
We are adjourned.